Hey, Step Back listeners. Want to share your opinions, give feedback, or tell Matt and I what you're thinking? Send us a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send us audio that might end up in a future episode of the Step Back, a Mavs podcast. They're the latest feature from Anchor, the platform we use to make this podcast. You can send us a voice message right now from wherever you're listening. Just tap the link in our show notes. Matt and I can't wait to hear from you guys.
Hey, this is Dirk Nowitzki, and you listen to the Mavs Step Back podcast.
I like this, TK. I like that. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk get the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Look with the ball, yeah, get nasty. He'll drop 30, don't gotta ask him. Got Chris Stapps, coach at the Adam. I spaz like Dallas, I thought I'm rapping. God, if Luka shoot the ball, you know that it's cash. But my boy still looking to pass. Now he got my boy Chris Stapps, looking like Duncan Nash in the gap. They just want a ring, wanna fill the gap on your team head. I ain't talking hats, dang, go relax. Still at the champ, defense still coming with the cannabis flow. The master.
Welcome in to the Step Back, a Mavs podcast, everybody. I'm your very amped and maybe a little emotionally unstable host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined by my co-host and DallasBasketball.com colleague, Matt Galatzan, who is a little bit calmer than I am right now. We're just moments away from the draft lottery reveal getting underway. They already did the drawing at 6:50, which was about 40 minutes ago, but you know they have to drag it out and do the nice reveal on ESPN. But Matt, how are you holding up? You know I'm not holding up very well right now.
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing great because I'm more of a realist than you are, I believe.
I'm very real, Matt. I'm very real.
There's a 6% chance that they win it, and it would be a lot higher had they lost the games that I wanted them to lose.
I'm not here for this right now, Matt. We've come too far, and we have too much good energy out there for you to be doing this.
What I'm saying is there's no reason to be upset if they don't get to keep their pick. We still get Luka. We still have, everything to look forward to this summer. Would it be an ultra super awesome cherry on top to get Zion? Absolutely. But the chances are so low that, since it's probably not going to happen, it's probably not going to happen, and I can live with it.
Okay, well.
Now, had they had the Knicks odds and they landed outside the top 5, I'd feel a lot more, or you know what I mean. I mean, had they?
Okay, but listen. This is not if and when they don't keep the pick, we can go through all this. Well, they should have done this, and maybe shouldn't have won this game, and all this other stuff. But until then, I don't even want to think about it. I mean, I know I absolutely understand that the odds are not in their favor to keep this pick. I get that. I'm just saying, I don't know. I feel better about this than I would if they had like a higher percentage chance, basically because of recency bias. Last year they had the third best odds. They moved down to the 5th pick. So I don't know. And I mean, you had the lottery reform, so yeah, technically they're in the 9th spot, but they have the same odds at number 1 that the 6th spot did last year. I don't know. I'm just amped. I'm too amped. I need to calm down, but
you do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to keep you from having a heart attack. If they don't win it, they don't win it. It's not the end of the world.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
There's a good percentage of Mavs Twitter that was calling for me to be a blood sacrifice in order for us to get Zion. So,
hey man, I watch Game of Thrones. Blood magic works.
Our guy Kirk, he seems to be handling that for us right now, though. Yeah. Unfortunately,
shouts to Kirk Henderson with his knee surgery.
Yeah.
He was sacrificed for Zion.
Yeah, he was joking about them taking his leg for Zion, but on a more serious note, I really hope that doesn't happen.
No, he'll be fine. Anyway, so what do we do here? How is this structured? Do we know how they're going to count it down? What's going on?
Well, obviously they're going to start with with pick number 14 and work their way down. But the show itself, the reveal is 30 minutes long, so we'll definitely know by 8 o'clock. The next 27 minutes. I'm watching mine on Watch ESPN. Is yours going right now?
Yeah, no, I'm watching.
Mine's not going.
I'm on regular ESPN.
Huh.
I'm on my TV with ESPN, so.
Let me try something different here. I don't want to. We've got to find out at the same time. I can't have you telling me.
I can't be your Woj?
I mean, I guess that's the bad part about this. Woj works for ESPN now, so he can't leak anything.
Yeah, that does kind of blow. I mean, what about Shams? He's got to know, right?
I mean, even if he did, like I saw, I don't think they even invited him as part of the media that got to go in the back room. They showed Zach Lowe like before this got started, and he was going to the back room where they have this thing done. It's in like the bottom of the hotel. There's no windows. There's a desk where, he had to stop and say that he was Zach Lowe with ESPN. Then he had to give over his cell phone, and then that's where that's where they had to stop filming. I mean, they take this stuff pretty seriously.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. I don't really get it. They can just keep everything sealed and filed since they've already drawn it already. It was probably just mostly for TV drama, I guess.
Well, this is the thing that's killing me. We got the results have already happened, so we're really just, it's already happened. Whatever's going to happen with the Mavs is already sealed in an envelope, so we're just waiting for them to tell us. That's the worst part.
All right, so I think we need to tell everybody what's going on, though. So if you don't see the Mavericks pop up at spot number 9, as Dalton was telling me earlier, that means that the Mavericks are in the top 4 automatically, correct?
That's right.
So if that happens, then it's time to celebrate. No matter what pick you're in there, there's a little celebration that needs to be had.
Exactly. Yep. If they, there's a chance that they could go down to, I think they have a very, very slim shot at dropping to like 11th or 12th, but really the best chances are just to stay at 9th or move down to 10th. But if they get to 10th and they get to 9th and they don't have that Mavs logo in the envelope, if they still do it the same way they've done in recent years, we're going to start getting really excited.
I was thinking, too, it's finally that the Mavericks have kind of hinted that they don't believe this is a one-player draft, which I've been saying all along. There have been some people that have said otherwise, but I think that's a ridiculous statement. It's never a one-player draft. How many people enter the draft every year?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I can't even think straight right now.
At least 100 people enter every year, probably more. And to think that there's one player worth drafting in the entire thing is asinine and stupid. So I'm glad to hear they finally came out and said, there's life after Zion, which is true. I think there's a lot of good prospects to be had in that those top 4 slots.
We'll
see. There's obviously different levels of excitement, but they're still building blocks.
I've said from the beginning there's good prospects in this draft. It's just from a raw talent and potential standpoint. It's such a big drop off. Just because we use the word drop off, it doesn't necessarily mean that the other players don't have something to offer. They do. They're really good players. Ja Morant, R.J. Barrett. Who else do I need to talk about?
Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Jarrett Culver.
Right. All those guys.
Rio Huchimara or whatever.
I'm not.
The guy from Gonzaga. I'm just saying there's players.
Okay. But yeah, they're really talented. It's just when you look deep into what Zion has done, And it's not just the eye test. He passes like all the advanced stats tests that you can give him. He's so far and away the best prospect in this draft, in my opinion. That's why people aren't as excited about the other picks. I mean, the other players, they're going to be great players, or at the very least, they're going to be good NBA players, in my opinion. But the Zion hype is just unmatched right now, and I understand why.
No, I do too. But what I'm getting at is, I mean, who are the two, who are the three best players in the NBA right now?
Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron. He's still up there.
Okay, well, LeBron doesn't count because he's hurt and he's not in the playoffs.
Well,
so
I guess
basically your top four players.
Giannis. Oh my goodness, Giannis. How could I not?
Now.
I take it back.
I take it back.
I take it back. Giannis is better than LeBron at this point.
Okay, yes, and then you could also throw James Harden into the mix. You could also throw Steph Curry in the mix. What I'm saying is none of those guys were selected number one, and two of those guys were selected outside the top 14 picks. Kawhi and Giannis were number 15. So if everybody knew everything about every prospect and it was all final, we all knew what to expect, then those guys both would have gone number one. So we never know what's going to happen. That's why I think the idea of a one-player draft is asinine.
Before we go any further, I don't want to be too far behind you since I'm actually streaming this on my laptop. But did they just show Dame shooting up practice shots on the court?
Yes. Now they're showing the people who are representing all the teams.
And now the logos.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sent's beautiful mug right now.
Oh, well, I'm a little bit behind.
All right.
Let's see.
Well, just let me know when you get to David Griffin.
David Griffin. They're showing Zion.
Wow, you're way far behind me.
They're showing the Celtics and the Sixers. Let's see, there's Alonzo Mourning. Why am I so far behind?
Because you're streaming on the internet.
I have really good... AT&T has been great to me. They should be faster than this. Okay, guys. Well, anyway, they're
are you David Griffin yet? Where's David Griffin?
I'm at Cynthia. Now I'm at Elliot Perry with Memphis. I have no idea who that dude is. And okay, I'm at David Griffin.
All right. So just so everybody knows how much I care about Dalton, I just delayed me finding out the lottery results about 2 minutes just so we could be on the same page here.
Well, you know what? This is stupid. We're probably going to find out on Twitter before we even...
No, I'm not. No, we're not going to look at Twitter.
Okay.
Dalton,
all right.
We're not.
That's really hard for me.
I know.
Okay.
But we're not going to do it.
Now I know how Woj feels working for ESPN. He can't break any ESPN news without them giving him consent. There's Nick Gilbert. There's our guy, Nick Gilbert.
Oh,
oh, man. This is nerve-wracking. This might not have been the best idea.
why? I mean, I think this is fun. Y'all have to let us know. I mean, is this like the most annoying pod we've ever done, or is this the best pod we've ever done?
I feel like there's some people out there that will enjoy just like feeling my anxiety through a pair of headphones.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh man.
Or my, consistent pessimism.
Whew. Okay, they're coming up to the stage. They've got the envelopes. Zion looking like, man, I want to be in Dallas.
No, he's not. He's looking like, man, just please don't send me to Phoenix or Cleveland.
In all honesty, if Zion avoids Cleveland, I'll live with the results. Okay, here we go. 14. The Celtics.
That's about what we expected.
Yep, no movement. Oh, God. Ah! We're just going to have like this dead silence on the pod while we wait.
The Heat are at number 13. There's also a huge chance that we won't even publish this if the Mavericks end up picking like number 10 or 11, so just be prepared.
Okay. Lord have mercy.
All right, Hornets 12. Timberwolves in at 11.
I'm not on the... I'm a little bit behind.
That means the Lakers are in the top 4.
Oh, shit. No. Oh, you've got to be Matt.
Wait, what?
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Dalton.
We moved back to 10th.
Are you serious?
Yes. The Hawks get the 10th pick. And the Lakers are about to win. The Lakers are about to win the number 1 pick. No.
Man,
it's over.
Let's just cancel this. Are you serious? They moved back again?
Ah! Oh my God! No, we got to keep it now.
How do you move back again?
Oh my goodness, dude!
I mean, that's fine. Like that means Atlanta gets a shittier pick.
The Hawks get the 8th.
Really? That's actually
Dude,
the possible scenario for the Hawks.
If the Lakers get the number 1 pick...
Oh my God, Phoenix finished 6th?
Dude, what is going on?
The Knicks are going to get the number 1 pick, dude.
Watch it be the Lakers. If there's any justice...
The Gilbert kid has a beard?
Yes.
How old is he now?
He's like 30. Patrick Ewing's just like, okay.
Man?
Look, if there is any justice in this, the Pelicans will get the number 1 pick because of all the Anthony Davis crap that's been going on. Don't give the Lakers any more leverage, which I don't know if they'd trade that pick for Davis anyway.
Dude, they would have LeBron and Zion in the same team. That's like...
Dude, this is bullshit.
No, it's not, Dalton. This is what I told you was going to happen. This is what happens when you win the games at the end of the year that you're not supposed to win.
No, it's not. The Lakers finished with a better record than the Mavs.
I know, but still.
That's what I'm saying is bullshit.
The Grizzlies and the Pelicans. I mean, come on, man. The Grizzlies finished above us, didn't they?
No, they were tied. We were tied with the... That's another frustrating thing. The Grizzlies and the Pelicans, we had a 3-way tie. So you lose one more game,
and you have better odds, and you probably get that Grizzlies pick.
But we had the same odds as both of those teams. That's just horrible luck.
Dalton, this is what you get.
No, it's not.
Like, you don't win those games. And then there's not the 3-way tie from 7, 8, and 9, and those odds aren't jumbled, and it's not all f***ed. 2 of those teams that we tied with ended up in the top 4.
I don't even care anymore. We might as well just keep recording to get the... I mean, we're ending this as soon as we find out who has the number 1 pick, because now I just feel like I'm torturing myself.
Do you realize how absurd that is?
How absurd what is? I'm not even there anymore.
The 2 of the teams that we tied with in the lottery standings are in the top 4, and both of whom have a 6% chance at the number 1 pick, and neither of them are the Mavericks.
That's what I was just saying. That's it never ends. One day they're going to move up in the lottery, Matt.
But if you lose one more game, I guarantee you they're in there. One more game, I guarantee you.
You can't look at it that way, though, because that's not how the
I'll
ping pong
look at it
balls...
however I damn well want to,
That's
Dalton,
not how the
because that's
ping pong
bullshit.
ball... You know, it's like if you go back in a time machine and step on a butterfly or something. You know, you can completely alter the future by one little thing. I don't think it's that easy.
Well, to everybody who is happy about the Golden State and Oklahoma City and Philadelphia wins, this is what you get.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're wrong for putting that on people. A fan can vote. A fan can cheer for their team to win a game.
Not when the opportunities are greater for them in the future.
No,
it's
just bad luck.
I hope all y'all are happy. I hope all y'all are happy.
This has nothing to do with the fans. Stop putting it on the fans.
It's all your fault, fans.
It has something to do with the Mavericks as a whole. They just have the worst lottery. You know what? That's how it's always been, though. They always have to, make some kind of trade, or even when they got Luka, they had to trade to get Luka. So, I don't know. Now we focus all of our attention over to free agency. By the way, we're gonna have Richard Stayman on, and we were hoping we were going to get to talk with him about some of the top prospects that the Mavs were going to be looking at. But regardless, he's going to give us some names to look at that 37th pick. And you know what? Since they moved back...
It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters.
Well, they said
I don't know.
They said the order. Said the order in the second round is inverted from the order in the first round. So I'm wondering if that means the Mavs get pick number 36 instead of pick number 37 now. Oh, anyway, we're gonna have Richard Stayman on. Y'all probably know him better as Mavs Draft on Twitter, but he's gonna give us some names for us to look out for. And I'm sure a lot of y'all aren't really excited.
Shit.
I can't see. I'm behind.
No, Shams just tweeted it.
Did he really?
New Orleans has the number 1 pick.
Oh my God.
Lakers number 4, then the Knicks, then the Grizzlies, then the Pelicans. Oh my God, you poor Knicks fans. That is so funny.
Dwayne Price just tweeted out 18 seconds ago, the Dallas Mavs did not win the top pick in the draft lottery. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh. I don't believe in this stuff being rigged, but that seems like such a makeup kind of thing for the Pelicans with what they've had to deal with lately.
Dude, if it was rigged, it would have gone to New York or L.A.
You're right. But still, it's just like...
Dude, Anthony Davis is, basically f***ed now.
Man.
By the way, this podcast is probably going to be listed as explicit. I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh, my gosh. This is... Okay, well... That's it.
So what? Are the Pelicans a playoff team now next year?
Yes. We get to go up against Zion Williamson 4 times a year. Lovely. This is awesome.
How can anybody even try and trade into that pick now?
They can't. That's the pick.
Literally the only team that could have done it was New Orleans.
That's the pick that other teams would have tried to get Anthony Davis with. I remember Shams earlier today, he was talking about how if the Knicks got the number 1 pick, they were going to shift their focus on, turning that into a trade for Anthony Davis. So
now the Knicks are going to get RJ Barrett probably. No, actually
my goodness.
Yeah, no, they'll probably get Ja Morant, I bet. I would think the Grizzlies would take RJ Barrett instead of Ja Morant just because they have Conley. He didn't seem like he's – unless they try and trade Conley.
Dude, I'm done with this. I'm ready to move on. All right, guys. We're gonna end this now. If you get anything good out of this whole night, just maybe you'll get some humor out of our what's the word I'm looking for? Our disappointed reactions on here. Like Matt said, we're probably just gonna list this as explicit and just roll with it. So, all right, guys, we're taking off. There's no need for us to keep going on about this. We're gonna have our guy. Richard Stayman, aka Mavs Draft, on here to talk about second round prospects. We'll get his reaction to the lottery and we'll go from there. So hang with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. We apologize for the first half of this pod being so depressing, but I mean, we had higher hopes, even though we knew that was entirely possible. I guess what makes it so bad is, the two teams that had the exact same odds as the Mavs, the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, they're picking 1 and 2. Where the Mavs, they moved down to 10th. But even the Hawks, the Hawks have to feel, really bad about this lottery. They not only did they get the 10th pick out of this, from the Mavs, but they moved down from 5th best odds to 8th. So they get the 8th pick instead of the 5th pick, which was their own. But anyway, Matt and I, we got Richard Stayman here with us. Y'all know him better as Mavs Draft on Twitter. He's here. He's going to give us his reaction from the lottery, and then we're going to try to get past this together, and he's going to tell us about some names we need to keep an eye on for the Mavs with that number 37 pick in the second round. Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Yep.
Well, I'm not doing that great. I'm doing great, Matt.
Doing best you can, but What were your initial reactions there? I'm sure you were right there watching, the same time we were, and what were your initial thoughts there?
Well, when the Wolves got 11, I was angrier than anything that could have happened next, or so I thought. I was really upset that the Lakers went and jumped the Mavs, but the 7-8, the teams that had the exact same odds as the Mavs, going up, that just I've had to walk out of my room. I was so upset, and I was really glad it was a long commercial break. I'm very angry still at all of this. Mostly the Lakers. I think that's still the team that's gotten the most to me. I never liked the Lakers going up, and I think I don't like them. Not going to say anything else, but I just don't like the Lakers, so I'm really upset by that.
Well, and I was telling Matt too when it got down to the top 4 reveal and the Lakers were in it, I was like, watch them win the number 1 pick, and then that gives them even more leverage in the Anthony Davis sweepstakes, which I don't think they would have traded that pick anyway if they had gotten it. But it was almost like the league making it up to the Pelicans. Obviously that's not how this works, but in the back of your mind you can't help but think about it like that, given what the Pelicans had to go through with Anthony Davis and, Clutch Sports and Rich Paul and all that stuff during the season and the trade demands and all that. So the Pelicans, they're the big winners. They're probably going to get a pretty big haul for Anthony Davis this summer, assuming they trade him like the majority of us think they will. So they're doing good. But Matt, you have any other questions for Richard before we move on to his second round prospects analysis?
Well, not necessarily for Richard, but how sure are we that the Pelicans aren't going to be like a playoff team now?
No, thank you.
Seriously, it's Drew Holiday, Zion, Julius Randle, Anthony Davis. That's not like a bad little core. Maybe they just stick with it. I don't know. I'm sure maybe they ship all those guys off except for Zion. Who knows?
They still don't have enough. They still don't have enough shooting, in my opinion. But like we were talking about a little bit earlier, I kind of feel like this means that Julius Randle isn't going to be back with the Pelicans. Not saying I think Zion's going to be a much better player than Randle, but their height and similar builds. Even though Zion's more of like a Greek god type type thing, he's more chiseled and all that. But I mean, I don't know. I get the feeling that this means that Julius Randle's going to be gone.
Well, I think depending on how the Anthony Davis trade goes, if they get like the Celtics package, which would probably include Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. I mean, those are all guys who contribute to winning basketball like way more than I think than what the Lakers could offer in terms of win now. So I think they could be like a 40-plus win team if they get that kind of package. Hopefully not. I'm really still upset about the fact that the Mavs have to play them 4 times a year and play Zion Williamson 4 times a year. So that's going to be really fun. And even then, like even if it wasn't the Pelicans, like now the Mavs also still have to face John Morant or RJ Barrett 2 times a year barring a trade in Memphis. So all of this is just like I'm still taking this in.
Yeah, it's a really tough pill to swallow, and I guess one of the silver linings, like immediately after that happened, or within a minute after that happened, I got a text from my little brother who recently graduated college. He's home for the summer. He texted me and he was just like, well, at least you get to see Zion 2 times a year, because I go down to New Orleans every time the Mavs are down there. And I was just like, yeah, yeah, I get to go see him play, but he's not wearing the right jersey. I don't know, man. I'm like you. I'm still taking this in. It's just hard. I mean, I know everybody was like, oh, well, the Mavs, they haven't had any draft lottery luck in the past, so why should we expect it to change this time? But, I mean, come on. Like, they've got to have something change eventually, right? I mean, am I just crazy in thinking that? Like, what's keeping them from having just a little bit of lottery luck?
Yeah, you're crazy.
What? Well, I'm sure Matt's going to tell me that, well, they should have lost a couple more games and then they would have had the lottery luck, but you don't know that. I mean, we just really don't know that. But anyway, we're not going to dwell on this. We spent almost 30 minutes in the first half of this just venting, and we apologize for that, but I mean, it was warranted at the time. But Richard,
hey, speak for yourself. I'm still going to be all over this.
that's fine. Look, we're gonna try to not be as upset for this part, and we're gonna try to get some knowledge, because we knew going into this, even if the Mavs didn't keep their pick, like what was expected from the beginning. They made that trade for Luka last year. With the expectations that they weren't going to keep this year's pick anyway. So it's not a surprise from the Mavs even though they would have loved to jump up into the top 4 or even get the number 1 pick in Zion, but it was an expected result. So you can only be so mad about it when you consider that. But that being said, we knew that the Mavs were going to have their second round pick regardless, and they were going to have a high second round pick. So it's official now. They're going to have pick number 37 in the second round. Richard, who are some names you're keeping your eyes on, and who Mavs fans should keep their eyes on as we get closer to the draft?
Well, first, let me just say the one silver lining, like out of all of this, that is really good about just the horrible night that tonight has been, is that the Mavs did, by losing the lottery odds technically to New Orleans and Memphis, it did jump 2 spots in the second round. So that's right. A really good positive, because the second round it's not necessarily deep and it's not weak either, but so every pick matters. The closer obviously to 30 you can be in the second round, the better of a chance a first rounder falls. There's a lot of wings that I've been looking at. The top one for me would be KZ Okpala, I think is how you say his name. It's kind of tricky. He's from Stanford, amazing athlete, really raw, doesn't have much of a shot, but he can create. I'd love for him to fall. Not too confident on that, but with the jump shot concerns as a wing, he may be able to, slip to 37, or maybe even the Mavs make a trade. So he's the first guy who I'm looking at as hoping automatically just fall to the Mavs. The most wishful thinking, I know, Dalton, you and I have talked about this guy plenty, is Matisse Thybulle.
Yes.
I would absolutely love for him to be there, but I think he got a first-round promise considering he's not participating in the Combine at all. But for those who really are curious about him, he's 6'5" or 6'6", something like that, with a 7'2" wingspan. Probably the best defensive prospect in the class. He is the only, I don't even know, the crazy stats are out there, but he gets blocks, he gets steals, he plays the passing lanes.
Look,
he's a defensive stopper.
What it tells you everything you need to know about Thybulle, that his nickname is the Angel of Chaos. I saw that somewhere. I don't know if it was ESPN or something, but they said his nickname is the Angel of Chaos. And when you watch him play, I mean that's true. The way he plays, he just causes chaos, and his arms are so long. He's in every single passing lane, disrupting passes, and he gets a lot of steals. He blocks shots. He contests everything, and then he's got a little bit of an offensive game to go along with it. But before the tournament started, before the NCAA tournament started, I had more hope that he could be available for the Mavs in the second round. But then he had a really good tournament, and that seemed to change. The more publicity he got, the more what's the word I'm looking for? The more the spotlight was shown on him as that tournament went on. It just seemed like it kind of opened everybody's eyes a little bit. So I'm sad about that. I'm still going to hold out a little bit of hope. Like maybe something happens at the Combine and he drops a little bit. I don't know. I would really love to see Matisse Thybulle fall to the Mavs, though. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him ranked pretty high on different draft boards. Some as high as like top 12 or 15. So we'll have to see what happens there. But a guy that I wanted to ask you about, Richard, is Naz Reid from LSU. I watched him, quite a bit this year because I'm an Ole Miss guy and I watched a lot of SEC basketball. So, what have you got on him?
Dude, I'm really glad you said him because he was actually going to be the next guy I talked about. I have him ranked in my top 25, I think, top 30 at least. A lot of people I've seen on Twitter, I searched his name today just to see what everyone thought about him. There were people talking about how he's going to be undrafted, and I was like, perfect, you know what? That means he'll be there for the Mavs. But I think he's going to go – I think he'll go in the top 40. The Mavs really could use his game. An offensive-minded four. He's not very good defensively, to say the least. He's heavy-footed on the perimeter. He's got short arms, so he's not really going to protect the rim. And, he's strong, but that's basically his only defensive skill set. But, man, he can shoot. That dude, I have videos up that on my Twitter that he can shoot from the logo, like no problem. He barely gets any jump or anything. It's gorgeous. He's got a lot of guard skills. So I'm a big fan of him on that. At least in the second round at 37, like he's a swing for the fences, and you take that chance.
Well, and look, another guy that I'm going to bring up here, and from what I've seen, he's kind of like a late first-round fringe. He's a fringe first-round player, and I've seen a couple people put him in the early second round. But, if the Mavs wanted a center, what do you think about Daniel Gafford from Arkansas? I mean, what do you like anything about his game?
I love everything about his game. The only issue I have with him is that he has like an inconsistent motor. Supposedly, I haven't seen a ton of that, but that is like a worrisome. You don't want your center of all positions to really have a bad motor. But everything else about him checks out. He's amazing in the pick and roll, both ends really. A lot better offensively than defensively. But he's an incredible athlete with really long arms. He's a good rebounder. He runs the floor, so he'd be that rim running type. I actually have him in my top 15. So I'd be really stunned to see him land in the second round. I think in workouts, if he interviews well, that there's no question in my mind he's going top 20, top 15 at the least.
Right.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of him. As long as he adds muscle and the motor's there, he's going to be a good player.
Well, and it feels like with Gafford's build and how he plays the game and everything, it seems like every time we see a guy, or every time I see a guy like him, I naturally want to compare him to a young Tyson Chandler, especially with the way he's able to protect the rim. So I don't know if my comparison is far off there. Maybe he's a more offensively gifted version of Tyson Chandler, but that's kind of what I see when I watch Gafford highlights.
Yeah, they're a little bit different. I haven't really come up with a comparison yet. I mean, I thought maybe like Atlanta Dwight Howard is someone who he reminded me of. Not like the dominant Dwight Howard or anything, but I think he's a little bit more skilled offensively because he's got the mid-range jump shot he can take every once in a while. It's not really consistent. And like I said, the motor comes and goes a little bit more. So I'd love to see him be a Tyson Chandler that can shoot. That would be incredible. I think his jump shot's going to keep growing. But I think he's closer to kind of like Dwight Howard in Atlanta because if you remember, he was taking mid-range jump shots and still putting up really good numbers. Just wasn't like dominant defensively. I think that's kind of a middle ground for him.
Right. And look, I got a couple more players I want to ask you about. I don't know, I don't know how far you've gotten into this already. I'm sure you've been doing research on a ton of guys, but I'll let Matt get in on this again after I ask you about Okeke. How do you say his first name? Chuma?
Yeah, Chuma Okeke.
Yeah, I mean he was great for Auburn. He had that unfortunate injury in the tournament. I don't know if I'm sure that's going to affect his draft stock a little bit. But what do you like about his game, and is that a guy that you could potentially see falling to the Mavs, or is his upside just too much to get him down to 37?
I'm not entirely sold on his upside, and really the ACL injury, so it's always scare me off. But Okeke, it might be okay. I don't even know how to say it, but I like it for more Okeke. But he's a perfect glue guy. I mean, he averaged 2 assists, 2 steals, a block. Didn't really get a ton of points, so immediately your first reaction, is going to be Draymond, but he's a better shooter. I like him. The ACL injury just really scares me, but the same way how I kind of feel about Jontay Porter in this draft at 37, it's the Mavs' only pick. You might as well take a swing for the fence. And if both those guys come back healthy, you're getting a first round talent. So I think that would be worth it at 37.
Matt, you have any guys on the brain right now?
Yeah, it was actually, you just mentioned Jontay Porter. I wanted to get your thoughts on him because obviously he was, he's Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, and he had a little praise coming out. Ended up staying in after last year's draft and going another year at Missouri, but I guess he's coming out again this year. What are your thoughts on him?
He's a really unique player. He's a 3-and-D power forward, which is really rare. I don't know how many of those guys really exist. Like, I don't know if he's really going to do anything in between those two things that much because he's not athletic really at all. And with 2 ACL injuries, it doesn't really help anything. So that scares me off a lot. Like the whole injury history in that family just freaks me out. But he's a really good defender from what I saw last year at Missouri. Really good defensively, has all the skills. He understands the game. It's pretty clear. And his jump shot's pretty good. So, like I said, I like him as a 3-and-D power forward, which I don't even think I can name any. I've tried for so long thinking of this, but I can't think of a single, just straight up, that's his role.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Porter. I haven't really kept up with him as much as I did last year. I honestly didn't expect him to go back to school. Maybe y'all did. I don't know, but I really didn't keep up with him as much this year. But he's definitely a guy that I'm intrigued by. I guess this is the last guy on my list that I was going to ask you about, Richard. And last year Mavs fans really wanted the Mavs to select a wing with their second round pick. They ended up with Jalen Brunson, who, to his credit, to the Mavs' credit, he's turned out to be a really solid player, really smart. He's NBA ready. He stepped in as soon as Barea went out, and he had a tremendous second half of the season. Started a lot of games in that second half of the season. But anyway, this year they kind of have to take a wing at this point. If not, even if they take a center, that would, or a center or a power forward, that would be more acceptable than taking another guard at this point. But I'm looking at the wing prospects. I think that's definitely where they have to have their main focus. And I'm looking at Dylan Windler, or is it Windler? from Belmont.
I'm not actually sure on that either. So you're going to the wrong person on how to say his name.
Gotcha.
I've heard both. I think it's Windler. I think it's Windler. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on Twitter. Yeah, so with Windler, though, I mean, like, he gives you everything you want. He averages over 10 rebounds a game. He's a really good shooter. I mean, he absolutely lit up the stat sheet every single night. My concern with him is I am a little bit skeptical of shooters and of like him that played in weaker conferences because you don't get a chance to see them play against a ton of length all the time, which really impacts three-point shooting. But he seems to have it. He had all the numbers that indicate he'll be a good shooter. His form's good. I think he's worth a shot at 37. I don't know how comfortable I'd be there. I'd say like 40 maybe. I know it's picky, but I think there's other wings I like in this class. Actually, wings is the deepest position from 30 to 45, in my opinion. I think you're going to see a ton of those fly off. No pun intended, I guess. I didn't realize what I just said, but but yeah, no, the wings are fully loaded in this class. So if you get Windler, there's a few others who I was thinking of just name dropping, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
That you could take that can play both wing spots, and like you said, they can also, some of them can play forward. Admiral Schofield, he's undersized. He kind of plays like a 4.
Oh,
he's
I like
6'5", but plays like a 4. The dream would be if Cameron Johnson's there from North Carolina. He's an incredible shooter, but I think he goes first round, sadly. And then for shooting guard wings that can play both, I really like Jordan Poole from Michigan, the one who hit the game winner last year in the tournament. He's a really good shooter. For international, you got Yovel Zuzman. Can't tell you a ton about him because international, sadly, I will admit I'm not the best at. But he can play at a high tempo. I've seen that from the couple games I've watched, and he's a smart kid. And then also Lugens Dort from Arizona State. He's really built. He needs to fix his jump shot and driving ability, but he can get to the rim easy, just not finish. And then just a couple more guys. My absolute dream would be Jordan Wara, I think is how you say his name. It's a silent N. I know the last player drafted with a silent N hasn't been the best, but he's a 3-and-D wing that can just absolutely shut down anyone and hit from NBA range. And then the last guy, who I've heard the Mavs have some linking to, is Robert Franks of Washington State. I've tweeted plenty about him. He was one of the top 10 shooters this year off Synergy. Incredible on spot up. He's really long. He has a 7'3" wingspan. He's 6'7". And he's got muscle, so he just needs to keep adding that, and he can be a really good 3-and-D player.
You know, I haven't. I'm sure I've seen Robert Franks before if I look him up, but I haven't actually done much research on him. But just hearing you talk about him right there, it's definitely what I'm going to be doing after this.
Hey, just search Mavs draft and Robert Franks. You'll see a ton of results pop up. Honestly, probably too much. But he's a really good shooter, perfect form. I mean, from a standstill, I don't think there's really anyone better in this draft class. At least in the second round talent, there's no question. I'm probably blanking on someone off the top of my head, but he is an incredible shooter.
Matt, do you have anything else to add for Richard there? We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I was curious. You know, this happens in the NFL sometimes, and the NBA occasionally as well. Is there's a player with immense first-round talent that for whatever reason slips into the second round, whether it be injury or, you know, character concern or some other kind of issue. Is there anybody that you see that's maybe a top, 8 to 15 or 20 talent that can end up falling back into where the Mavs pick at 37?
I'd say the easiest answer for me on that is Dan Gafford, who we talked about. The other one, I don't see a ton of guys like that. Gosh, I mean, I'd say my bold prediction really would be, I mean, I could see, I don't even know, actually. I can't see any of these guys falling. I think maybe Kevin Porter Jr. That'd be my boldest prediction, or Romeo Langford. Not too confident in those. I'm more confident in Langford falling because from what I've heard, there's some character issues, but I don't know how necessarily deep that goes. I could see him kind of slipping, and his jump shot is just abysmal. So those would be my two guys, I'd say, and probably KZ Okpala. He's been a top 25 guy all year. Really wouldn't surprise me if he kind of slipped, but he also probably gets the benefit of the doubt for playing for Stanford.
Well, and let me ask you this, because Matt just jogged my memory, and I'm glad he brought up that question. But what do you know about Darius Bazley? Because I mean, from what I understand, he was a top guy coming out of high school. He completely skipped college. I mean, the storyline, he's a different position, but the story, it seems kind of similar to that of Mitchell Robinson last year. And obviously Mitchell Robinson fell to the Knicks in the second round. I think it was around the same range that the Mavs are in right now. But I mean, what can you tell us about Darius Bazley? Could he have a chance to be that type of Mitchell Robinson storyline?
Potentially. I haven't seen a ton of him like most people. But what I do know is that he's got guard skills. He can move well. He's a really good athlete, and being signed by Clutch Sports usually is a recipe for success. Most of their guys are pretty successful. So I have confidence in him based on that alone. But supposedly, I don't know what the official numbers are. He has good length. He's got the prototypical size for a power forward. He's like 6'9", 200, give or take. So he's got the upside. He'd be a pure upside pick. Not sure he'd be as good year one as Mitchell Robinson, although I said the same thing about Mitchell Robinson. Bazley is supposed to be really raw. So it'd have to be a team that just has nothing to lose, really. That would take him. I wouldn't see, I don't know who really actually wouldn't take him in this draft, but someone's going to swing for the fences, and he's a home run pick, yeah.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing. He was such a highly rated talent coming out of high school, and since he didn't play college ball, there's not that much film out there on him, for people to analyze against high level competition. So that's one of the reasons Mitchell Robinson dropped, and that's one of the reasons that Bazley will probably drop too. But from what I have seen of him, I'm definitely intrigued. I don't know if pick number 37 is too high to take a risk on a guy like him. I don't, like you said, Clutch Sports guys have success, but I'm not necessarily thrilled that he's that he signed with Clutch Sports, because the Mavs, they don't have very good luck with that particular agency. But I don't know. I'm very intrigued by that. He's my dark horse pick. That's my final thoughts on that. I don't know how you feel, Matt, but that's my dark horse pick for the Mavs in the second round is Darius Bazley.
That sounds interesting to me. I'm down for whatever at this point. It's always going to be hit or miss here in the second round. So take a shot while you can, and if it works out, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, I know. Again, we're still recovering from all the stuff that happened earlier in the draft lottery, and again, I mean, we knew the odds were not in the Mavs' favor, but we thought maybe for once that the basketball gods would look down on the Mavs and have some sympathy and give them more than what they got tonight. So, but that didn't happen. But Richard, we're really appreciative that you came on here tonight and gave us a little more knowledge on some of these second round prospects. I'm sure the closer we get to draft time, you'll have even more information out on some of these other guys. But we really appreciate you coming on with us.
Hey, I really appreciate y'all having me on.
All right, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you later, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Again, that was Richard Stayman. You guys know him as Mavs Draft on Twitter. He's got a lot of good content out on there. I mean, guys that the average fan would never think to look into. He's watching a ton of film. He's getting all kinds of information on these guys that could be diamonds in the rough in the second round. So thanks again to Richard for coming on with us. All right, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of the Step Back, a Mavs podcast. Again, we're still trying to process everything that went on tonight. I guess the good thing is, if you can take something good from all of this, is, we can start to really pin down what the Mavs' priorities should be going forward. We can kind of start to figure out what their free agency plans are, because they're not going to have a first round pick that takes up their cap space, some of their cap space. So we should be getting a more clear picture of what's going on. And we've talked about Kemba Walker and Chris Middleton and some names like that. So we're going to continue to do that in the future. It's going to get really ramped up once the NBA Finals end. But Matt, you have any last thoughts before we head off here?
Not really. Just want to remind you guys to check out our work on DallasBasketball.com. We do a lot of hard work over there. We'll have some second-round draft content coming up. I'm writing a piece on Goran Dragic and his fit with the Mavericks this summer, which will hopefully cheer me up a little bit as I'm writing that. And then, Dalton and Fish are always putting out great work as well, so keep an eye out for that stuff. And we also have we just started a Patreon account if you guys want to check that out as well. Basically what you do is you go in there and you can pledge money and become a patron of ours and just help us grow and keep this podcast, as good as it can be. We don't expect anything, and there aren't really any perks yet, but we're still working on that. But every dollar counts, and we appreciate everybody and your loyal listenership and all that stuff. It really means a lot to us. So that's pretty much it on my end.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've obviously we've got a couple of sponsors that we've gone through now. We've got Anchor as our active sponsor right now, and the Patreon account is just another way to give listeners a chance to support us if they wish to do so. So it's not anything mandatory, but if you guys feel like doing it, definitely check that out, and we appreciate any support we're given there. But guys,
yeah, and that's patreon.com/stepbackmavs, just if you want to find it.
Good deal. Well, guys, we appreciate you coming on every week and listening. It's hard to believe that this was our 20th episode. It's kind of sad that that this ended up being the 20th episode under the circumstances, but it's been great. Like Matt said, we're going to continue to bring you guys the best Mavs content that we know how. And again, we just really appreciate it. So you guys have a good week. We'll be back next week, and we'll be talking about free agency plans and other things that come up within the next week or so. So thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Tuck our heads down, go relax, till later champ. Defense still coming with the best flow. The man's the best on the flow. I'm wild, but yeah, I'm the GOAT. This game get cold. Yeah, you might need a coach, your friends turn into your foe. But I'ma just roll, gotta keep rolling your boat. Yeah, I swear I give them hope. I say I'm cleaner than the soap. This time of year proves who will really sink afloat. For yeah, real. It's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. In this game, it's a lot of grit, you know what I'm saying? Proves who has integrity. Late nights, early mornings, but we all want the trophy at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of this game, because at the end of the day, only the real gonna float, man, for real. You either sink or you float, only the real gonna float.